let me raise myself the question I've been asked by every radio, television, and print reporter who's ever asked me about candidates, image, media, etc. Everyone always asks me, what's more important, style or substance? My quick, glib answer is yes. My more serious answer is you're asking the question the wrong way. You're presuming that we balance both at the same time, and that is not true. Again, those candidates, could you raise your hands? What's your name ID right now? Huh? What's your name recognition? What percentage of the voters know who you are?
1% or 1% or less, probably.
Okay, so you're a new candidate.
Right.
So should you be on your 5 o'clock news, 99% of the people who then see you, you're a stranger. Now, I don't know how you react with strangers. I think the way most people react is, well, who is this guy? Do I believe him? Do I not believe him? Nice guy? Not a nice guy. I can't deal with the content until I come to a little snap decision about you. Nice guy or potential ex-murderer. I have to deal with you first before I start to deal with the content. So the real question is chronological. And what the voter and the viewer deals with first is style. Then when I've come to my decision, this guy is okay, I believe him, then I listen to what it is you have to say and I start to evaluate it. And the way you have to deal with your candidate is that way as well. Style comes first, and then we start to deal with substance. Because if the style is no good, we never get to the substance. So it's chronological. Let me show you another example of this. Now, I used to worry about this clip because, again, people have very strong feelings one way or the other. So let me show you another clip where truthfulness and veracity obviously has nothing to do with it. A couple of years ago, you may remember we had those very terrible fires in Yellowstone Park. Remember the fires that were burning? And the Bush administration at that point adopted a let burn policy. Let it burn, excuse me, it's the Reagan administration. A let burn policy. Let it burn itself out and everything will be okay. Well, the environmental community didn't like that. So they went live, the Today Show went live one morning to Yellowstone to speak to an environmental critic. And then we came back to Washington to speak to one of the assistant secretaries of Interior. And let's just watch a little bit of this clip and you tell me your reaction. We'll get the sound back on.
Morning in our Washington newsroom is Susan Reese, who was acting assistant secretary of the Department of the Interior. That natural burn policy, it would seem to me, has pretty well been discredited as of this summer. Am I right about that? Is the policy itself history?
I believe it is, Jane. This is an unprecedented year in the history of the Park Service's firefighting efforts. And I think we're in a situation of having to reevaluate that policy and to determine what our future responses are going to be.
Looking over in hindsight, however, how much of the blame do you think that federal experts should take for the fires that simply got so far out of hand?
Well, I believe our responses to fires in the past have served us well. This has taken us by surprise. I think Mother Nature has combined a lot of factors that have made it very difficult to respond. I think the experts have served us well. I think that this is a matter of looking at a whole new situation to determine what we can do in the future. So I don't think that they deserve any blame.
Well, Mr. Chase, then it sounds like that you have gotten the officials' attention finally.
Yes, I certainly don't agree with that. Tree ring studies by the Park Service own scientists have found that Yellowstone burned completely. Parts of Yellowstone burned completely every 20 to 25 years, and major fires swept the rest of the park every 40 years. So they knew what the fire frequency was before the coming of European settlers. They knew, for example, that Indians burned in this area. And therefore, policy of just letting lightning cause fires to strike is more theology than it is science.
What about
they should have known that.
What about the president, of course, sending the cabinet officials out to survey it? They aren't going to try to put out the fire. But what about the Army? The presence of the Army to put out the fires. Do you have any confidence that they will be able to put it out, or is that kind of a political move?
Well, I myself don't want to make comment on.
Now, what do you remember about the Assistant Secretary of the Interior? Notice how you can barely pay attention to the message simply because of the distraction or the pressure and the nervousness, all of which is tremendously understandable in terms of her performance. It's nothing to do with content. Matter of fact, I think most people can't even pay attention to the content because they're held up at the front door by the messenger. So again, let me go back to my primary premise as we get into this section. You have to be competent on television because if not, your message will not get through. Now I go back to my where we start. Don't try to be yourself on television because that leads you into a very dangerous error of judgment. That leads you to believe that the way you look in real life is the way you look on television, and nothing could be further from the truth. So I'm going to try to show you this way. Rather than try to show someone else look bad, I'll make myself look bad. I'll make myself the guinea pig. Okay? Now, don't look here, look over here. Now, am I in frame? Okay? Now, don't look at the television. Look at me over here. What's your name? Rich. Rich, do me a favor. I need you to be my lovely assistant, Rich. No, you can stay there. I just need you to spot me there. I'm going to look at you, Rich, and I want you to tell me when I have a neutral, blank expression on my face. Not happy, not sad, just neutral. When you say it's neutral, I'll turn to the camera, and then you all look at the TV and tell me what you say, okay? So what you see.
Neutral. Neutral.
How's it look on TV?
Neutral.
Does it look the same there as it looks here? Which looks worse? Television looks worse. It doesn't look the same. Why? Because you're falling back on that all. Television makes you look like yourself, and nothing could be further from the truth. First thing, and I'll explain why in a moment, television pulls your expression down. So if you're neutral, you look glum. If you're glum, you look like your dog died. If you're annoyed, you look furious. Watch this. Let's say you're one of those mean, nasty reporters and you ask me a tough question, so I get a little annoyed. Spot me when you tell me I look a little annoyed. Okay?
Annoyed. Yeah.
How's it look on screen? Royally pissed off there, Howard. Television pulls it down. Why? Two basic reasons. When you look at me here, look at how much you see. You have a huge frame of which I am but a little part. But on television, I am the frame. I am the walrus. No, that's something else entirely. I dominate the frame. Here, when you look at me here, you see three dimensions. You see height, width, and depth. Television, you lose the depth. It flattens the shot. And that flattening does different things to parts of you. What it does to your expression is pull it down. So if you're neutral, look glum, you look like your dog died. So, am I in frame? Rule number one, and Rich, spot me live here, you got to smile like a lunatic.
Right, smile, I guess.
Right? Now,
Yes.
am I smiling to an extreme fashion here?
No,
Look a little much?
Comfortable.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So now, I'm going to just give you the typical answer. And I think what we have to tell criminals in our street is 3 strikes and you're out. 3 strikes and you're history. Matter of fact, I go back to, matter of fact, I think if it's just 1-0, we should be putting them away for life. Now look at how much I'm smiling like a goon here, but how does it look on television? It simply looks mildly involved, mildly concerned. So if you want to look mildly confident, concerned here, you got to smile like Daffy Duck over here. Rule number 1, you got to smile like a lunatic. Rule number 2, yeah. You got to smile. You have to exaggerate the smile because television pulls it down. Number 2, and I think you saw this bespoken in both the Spiro Agnew and the other interview, one of the most powerful things on television is eye contact. And let me demonstrate it. Let's say you were doing a program like Nightline. You know what those are, the satellite remotes, where you're in one studio being interviewed by someone somewhere else. Watch the screen. Can you see me okay there? I'm going to say the same thing 4 ways. You tell me which is most believable. Ready? I promise I will not raise taxes. 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 Which was most believable?
Last one.
Last one, I didn't say anything different, and I didn't say it differently. But my eyes didn't move on the last one. My eye contact was steady. Same thing, said the same way, same inflection, but the last was most believable because there was steady eye contact. Now that's what you do in a satellite remote. That's also what you do in, for example, your opening or closing statement of the debate. This is where you're talking eyeball to eyeball with the voter at home. But if your eye contact isn't steady, you tell me, and I'm promising you that I'm going to do this. And I don't care what they say, I'm going to do this. What this says to me is, where's the door? Get me out of here as soon as possible. This says, God, do this for me, and I'll go to church for the rest of my life. This says, oh boy, why didn't I stay in the law firm? Why did I do this? My friends were... Notice that anything except steady, straight eye contact works against you. Now let's make believe you're doing a regular interview with a handheld microphone. You must look at the interviewer, not up, not down, not to the side. Watch the screen. Again, watch what happens if the eye contact isn't steady. I promise I will not raise taxes. I promise I will not raise taxes. I promise I will not raise taxes. I promise I will not raise... It's the steadiness of the eye contact that is important. Okay? So we talked about eye contact. We talked about smiling. Posture is really sort of funny because it depends on your height, it depends on your gender, it depends on the kind of chair. So a little later, to tell the truth, I'd rather show you individually if any of you know what kind of forum you're on, and I can adjust it there. What I want to show is what I find most people have the most trouble with. How many of you have been on television? Can I have hands again? How many of you looked like you were embalmed? Can I have hands? Yeah, let me address that. Too often, people think the way you have to be animated on television is the way you're animated in terms of public speaking. Now, in terms of public speaking, there's absolutely no question that the key animative device is gestures. Because I'm standing up here, even though I have pretty good vocal inflection, after a while, this gets really boring to watch. And it helps if you have something to look at. Right now, you don't have a whole lot to look at. When there's some gesture and there's some movement, this helps rivet the eye. So the primary animation tool in public speaking is gestures. Problem on television, it's not that gestures are against the law. Am I in frame? Rich? The problem is gestures really can't be seen, or they're outside the frame, or they violate the frame. Here's the real key to being good on television. And if you think the other stuff was dopey, Rich, wait till you see this. I'm going to start to give an answer. And you're going to say at first, not very good, and then watch what I do halfway. Ready? Let's do it. Okay. People keep saying, when are we going to raise taxes? Well, I think we already pay too much in taxes. I think the key is how we spend the money we're raising. And what I'm going to do if elected to this office is I'm going to make sure we're spending the right amount. This is really boring, so watch what I start to do. What we've got to do is spend the right money on the right things. And that's why I think priorities are so important in this campaign. And what I'm going to do is flail my head here on camera to make it look alive. Now watch the difference between saying the same kind of thing like this with absolutely no animation and moving it with a little bit of animation. I can say the same thing. I'm a very sincere person, and I'm the best thing that ever happened to your poor little pathetic lives. Well, I'm the best candidate here, and I'm the best thing that happened to your ever poor little pathetic lives. So, how do you be good on television? Smile like a goon, straight eye contact, move your head. Now, there's lots of little stuff, but that's really step one. And what I would ask you to do, if you think any of this is a little wacky, tonight when you're watching your evening news, turn the sound down for 2 or 3 minutes and watch and see what you start to observe. There's lots of the little stuff. Those are the key things.